is sponsored by Happy Face. Face cradles can be so uncomfortable for a client that pressure and stuffiness can ruin the whole massage experience. Happy Face is the most comfy face cradle, so you can give the most relaxing massage of your client's life. I can attest to this. I use the Happy Face when my clients face down, and then when I flip them, I tilt my table just a little bit, and there is just no more stuffiness when a client walks out of my massage room. No sinus pressure, no eye pressure, no need to adjust mid-massage, no wrinkles, no makeup smearing or wrecking my client's fancy lashes. Made in the United States. Happy Face is seamless, easy to clean, and it's about the same dimensions as all the other face cradles, so your face cradle covers are going to fit just fine. And the whole back is that Velcro so that it will stick where you put it on your face cradle frame. You can get 20% off the price of the product at massagebusinessblueprint.com/happyface. Use code MassageBB at checkout, but it's going to tell you all of that information at massagebusinessblueprint.com/happyface. And welcome. I am on my own today, so that means that I don't have the fancy music setup that Michael has. So we will edit the music in, and anybody watching this live or on any of those platforms is going to be very aware right now that, that was just me singing and dancing. Good morning, Andrew. We have one person listening so far. Thanks for showing up. Actually, I think we have two people listening. It's just me today. Michael's got the week off. I have never handled the tech portion of this before, so I tested it, hoping it's going well. Realized that I am wearing a striped shirt that is strobing on people's screens, and I apologize for that. Sorry, didn't know until about 12 seconds before I hit to go online and go live. So today's episode is a quickie. It's easy. It doesn't give you too much work to do. It really doesn't give you any work to do because, frankly, I feel like right now that's what I need. So that's what we're doing. I don't know if I did the official opening. Welcome to the Massage Business Blueprint podcast, where we help you attract more clients, make more money, and improve your quality of life. Just doing the best we can over here. So what have I been reading, friends? I have been reading a work of fiction by an author named Kirsten Chen called Counterfeit. And it was a fantastic read. It took me a little bit to get into it because it's told from the perspective of the two characters, but in kind of an odd way. And I'm not going to divulge too much because I want you to get into it and enjoy yourself. But it is a woman named Ava Wong and then her friend Winnie Fang, and Ava, who is a otherwise unassuming young mother and on leave attorney, I believe, ends up caught in a world of expensive designer handbag counterfeits. Sounds like it's something that wouldn't be much of an interest to me, but it was a fantastic story, and I think y'all should read it if you enjoy fiction and such. Again, Counterfeit by Kirsten Chen. Today's episode's just going to be a lot of me sharing resources that I really enjoy, every darn one of them free, if you can get that book I just mentioned through the library. Some potential paid stuff, but everything at least available at some level on free. So we're already jumping to our next sponsor spot, which is Jojoba. You know how I feel about Jojoba. They've been a long-time sponsor. I've known the Jojoba people since like 2008 or 9 when I bumped into the previous owners at a vendor show. The Jojoba company, which is in Maine, is the only company in the world that carries 100% pure first press quality jojoba. It doesn't go rancid. So that bottle that sat on my shelf for 2.5 years, because I got a full couple bottles before the pandemic, and I just opened the fresh gallon, and it is totally fresh and not rancid and lasts forever. It's non-allergenic, so I can not be concerned about using it on any particular client with any particular nut or any kind of allergy. Got people with some really severe gluten stuff going on. They can't even have gluten on their skin. And yeah, jojoba is good for them. It won't clog pores and it won't stain your 100% cotton sheets. So it saves you a ton of money in linen turnover. You can get 20% off the price of the product when you shop through our link, massagebusinessblueprint.com/jojoba. And I will divulge that we are going to have Brian, I think is the president, CEO, I'm not sure, of jojoba. I don't know the title. I don't remember. He's going to be on our podcast in a couple of weeks. And he is just a wealth of business information and also just a really cool person. And I'm really excited to have him on the podcast coming up. Again, 20% off at massagebusinessblueprint.com/jojoba. It's been a while since we spelled that out. Jojoba is spelled Jojoba. There you go. So I can't see all of my screen. Michael normally does the comment part. So good morning again, Andrew. Good morning, Sakina. Thanks for joining us. Sakina's going to know some of these resources that I'm about to share. Got to flip back to my podcast notes. It's summertime. Believe it or not, I do get tired of telling people what to do in their businesses. So I thought it would be a nice little break to just share some of the health related resources that I use in my massage practice and also that are just good for me for fun if you're like a body health nerd, like many of us are. Some of these are fun, like mellow time listening without being too massagey. So first, two resources that I use most in my practice, painscience.com. It's run by a guy, a Canadian former massage therapist named Paul Ingraham, and it is just the bomb. It is a fantastic resource on everything. So what it's called is a detailed evidence-based guides to common painful problems and reviews of the tragically flawed treatment options. And it's a really thoughtful, evidence-informed, evidence-based guide to all the kinds of things that we deal with in our massage practices and our lives. Headaches, back pain, runner's knee, fibromyalgia, frozen shoulder. He's got things divided into sections. He's got a whole head, neck, throat, and there's like, I don't know, 7 different guides in there. Back, chest, torso, a bunch of them. All kinds of things: shin splints, plantar fasciitis, how you treat plantar fasciitis, and they're written not just for massage therapists or body workers or healthcare professionals, but also for regular old people who are having trouble with these things and want to understand the more current and popular treatment options, get an objective look on how effective they are or aren't based on the most current information and research, and a lot of self-help stuff. And I am putting this resource in here because I have used it a bunch lately. I have adhesive capsulitis. I have frozen shoulder in one shoulder, which is a special level of HE double hockey sticks, I will tell you. And there's tons of free information here. There's also, you can purchase an ebook or the whole set of ebooks, which I did several years ago. And that means you will always get the most current updates to each ebook. And I am so grateful that I bought it. It was under $100 when I bought it. And it has been, my physical therapist gave me some information. This is not a problem that I work on with people. It's not my area. So I don't know a ton about rotator cuff stuff and specifically frozen shoulder. So I really felt like I was coming at this with a just barely more than a layperson point of view and information. So it's been really, really helpful to read that guide. It helped me better understand what my physical therapist had told me and also kind of figure out what to do on my own to complement the physical therapy and also what to expect. And I will tell you that when I started physical therapy a week ago, I was just entering that stage where you have lots and lots of pain as you try to sleep. You wake up and it's startling how much pain one can have in one's shoulder. And I've been so fortunate to not have these kinds of painful health issues very much in my life. So I will tell you that it is really comforting to be able to read that and understand it and not feel like I'm crazy and not be too like whatever, because I was like, oh, okay, this is part of the process. This is what's happening. Thank you. And Andrew, so okay, now I'm learning how to show comments on the screen, I think. So Andrew has noted that ABMPCE Center has some really good resources for rotator cuff and shoulder related injuries. Yeah, they do. I just started on that. So I'm pretty excited. Thank you for that reminder. We're actually going to talk about ABMP as a resource in a little while, as we usually do. Anyhow, I have used painscience.com for me to learn about something that a client's dealing with that I want to treat better. I have given links to painscience.com to clients so they can become more educated about what's going on with them and better advocate for their own care. And it's also, if you like to nerd out, it's just a great resource, even if you don't spend a penny there. Like I said, you can buy the ebooks, and actually, Paul now has an email list that is like a premium email list. It's like $60 a year. Just spend the money. And he'll send you the most current stuff. And if you like to listen to things in audio, he's making most of the posts available in audio as well. So that's really nice. So that's my first resource, which I went on about much longer than I anticipated. Also, if anybody has any tips on dealing with the pain of adhesive capsulitis while you're sleeping, just email them to me, podcast@massagebusinessblueprint.com, please. That is why I look the way I look right now, and I sound a little raggedy. I'm tired, folks. So the next resource that I use the most in my massage practice is Dr. Joe, Ask Dr. Joe, which is a YouTube channel where Dr. Joe, a doctor of physical therapy, creates all kinds of self-care videos for all of the things you could possibly ever need. Dr. Joe has been creating videos for a very long time. I think I looked back as far as I could, and it was like 9 or 10 years ago was the first couple of videos. I could even be wrong. It could be longer than that. Actually, I'm looking at it now. I think there was an update on the YouTube thing, and now it just says 5 years ago. Anyhow, if you need to show a client how to do chin tucks for their kyphosis or dowager's hump, or to stretch XYZ, Dr. Joe has a video for it. There are longer videos that show a series of stretches for any particular area. There are super short 1-minute videos. She's personable and easy to follow the instructions, and fun and brilliant and thoughtful. These videos are not going to show your clients how to do anything that's going to hurt them, and she's going to talk about modifications. It's just super efficient. I have no interest in making my own stretching videos, so when I say to a client, I think this would be a useful stretch for you to maintain this whatever on your own, I'm going to email you a link to a couple of videos that I really like, and then I have Ask Dr. Joe bookmarked in my browser, and I do that, and it takes a lot of work off of me, and also sometimes her dogs are in the video, and that's really fun. She has a great disclaimer too, like at the beginning of every video, that's like, listen, don't hurt yourself here. So that's that. Ask Dr. Joe. Let me flip back to my notes, take a sip of my coffee. I don't have Michael to call on to give me a break, so I just have to sip my coffee. Okay. Some of these resources I'm about to talk about, I've also talked about before, and they're just podcasts for your listening pleasure that are related to health and stuff, but not necessarily massage specific. There is a podcast called Maintenance Phase, which is my favorite right now. I get super excited every other Tuesday when an episode comes out. Wellness and weight loss debunked and decoded. And it's just hilarious. Probably not for young listeners. Michael Hobbs and Aubrey Gordon debunk the junk science behind health and wellness fads. Learning the history of BMI, oh my gosh. I knew it was crap, but learning the actual white supremacist history of it is really something. And it's funny. So like, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts that are like an hour or more, but this one I can take it when they have longer episodes, because they're just so funny and so smart and so real people approaching this information with some journalistic integrity and also with an eye on what it is to be fat in today's world and what it is to be marginalized. And it is just hilarious. Again, not for little ears unless you want your kids to, you know, say things they probably shouldn't say. Anywho, the next podcast that I have really been loving is it's a TED podcast. It's called Body Stuff with Dr. Jen Gunter. And one, I love it because she's Canadian, so she says all of her oohs like a boot and process. She says process instead of process, and I adore that. It's great. I read her book, The Menopause Manifesto, and I know I talked about it on the podcast, and it's brilliant. And that led me to her podcast. And her guest appearance on a bunch of other shows that I listen to led me to her podcast. It's not all women's health related. It's somewhat women's health related, but it's pretty great. I'm just going to read the thing. Dr. Jen Gunter is here to shake up everything you thought you knew, from how much water you need to drink to how often you need to poop and everything in between. And it's fun. Their episodes are not crazy long. And that's what I like about it. And, yeah, you can find it on all your podcast places. Body Stuff with Dr. Jen Gunter, pardon me. Flip back to that other window. Okay, the penultimate, the next to last podcast I want to tell you about was shared with me. Oh, my camera just went crazy again. Was shared with me by one of our Massage Business Blueprint Premium members who I actually took a class with. I'm going to jump back for a second because we've got some comments that I want to share. Specifically, Andrew, yes, with a lot of the research in anatomy, the majority of research has been performed on primarily European cadaver skeletons. Yes. But I also feel where in a time with so much access to information, a lot of stuff in textbooks will be changing. Yeah, we really can't trust textbooks anymore because, they're old. And I think that it's a much better way to get medicine now, get information nowadays is, things that can be changed quickly and more quickly than podcasts. Maggie, morning Maggie, says, can't wait to really listen in on the whole episode when I get a chance. I looked down at the first few references and I've definitely been needing in my business and personal life. Thanks so much. Back to momming. Maggie, thanks for popping out of your momming and into the podcast for a few minutes. Podcasts are great because you can go about your world and then get back to these stuff later. Okay. So the next podcast that I want to mention was shared with me by a Massage Business Blueprint Premium member that I actually spent a week with in real life, taking a class together in May. Janine, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever. She told me about 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 is Dr. Priyanka Wali, and she is a licensed and practicing physician who specializes in internal medicine and also is a stand-up comedian, and the actor Sean Hayes, who is not a doctor and he's never played one on TV. So he's the guy from Will and Grace and a whole bunch of other stuff. And this podcast is hilarious and wonderful. And I'm trying really hard to get my camera fixed, but I'm sorry that I can't. Okay. So the podcast, I love it because it's like really well structured and structured like the same for every episode. It's got a really good structure to it. So like they have a little banter at the beginning, and then they play some audio calls from like listeners who've had really wackadoodle medical situations. And then they kind of talk about them a little bit and decipher them, and real people talk. And Dr. Wali tells us what is happening there. And then they have a guest on that's talking about whatever a certain kind of health issue that they've had experience with themselves. So like recently, Annie Potts, if you remember like Designing Woman Annie Potts and like Ghostbusters Annie Potts, she early on in her life was in a massive car accident that broke like all kinds of bones from her hips down, and so she talks about that experience, and Dr. Wally kind of deciphers some stuff. There's just it's so good. Melissa Joan Hart was on talking about hypochondria, 𝗪𝗂𝗏𝗀𝗪 herself. Larry Wilmore had a fantastic episode about empathetic pain. Anyhow, it's really neat because it's like these star people. Rachel Bloom talked about ADHD in women, and that was phenomenal. And yeah, it's good. It's obviously funny because it's a couple comedians and I learn stuff, which is always nice. And yeah, that's what I want to say about that. 𝗪𝗂𝗏𝗀𝗪. Thank you, Janine in Maine, one, for tolerating me for an entire week in an Airbnb and a class where we also had a COVID scare, but also for telling me about 𝗪𝗂𝗏𝗪𝗀𝗪. You also told me about another podcast that I never got into, and I'm sorry, but 𝗪𝗂𝗏𝗪𝗀𝗪 is a win. Thanks, Janine. Okay, final resource here is the Body Nerd Show with Alexandra Ellis. And I happened upon Alexandra in TikTok. She's got these great like self-care TikTok videos she's a mobility specialist. She's got a bunch of credentialing. But I love her and I love her show, the Body Nerd Show. It's always a very realistic look at something everyone deals with. Again, this is a resource you can totally share with your clients. She typically has a guest on that an expert in whatever the area they're talking about. They're not long episodes. They're usually like 25 minutes or less. Labral tears, sciatica, hypermobility, gut massage and lymphatic drainage, how to avoid muscle soreness, scar tissue stuff. Flexibility, is stretching really the best option? It's great stuff. Informative for a body worker, informative for lay people, and I really like Alexandra Ellis. She actually sells like online virtual mobility training. She sells like a package that includes assessments and then creating a mobility program just for you. And one day I will do that. But the podcast is free. Her videos many of her videos are free. If you're on TikTok, totally find her. She's pretty awesome. And that is the end of those resources. Let me close that screen. And I'm just going to scan the comments to see if anybody's put anything else in there. If anybody's listening and they want to share any of their favorite resources in the comments, do that. If you have a favorite resource that you have not heard me mention on this podcast or any other episodes, send it to me. I want to know. podcast@massagebusinessblueprint.com. I want to hear what you're talking about, what you're using in your practice. I would like to share it with the masses if it's something that could be useful to all of us, because we're always, working and trying, and we all need all the help we can get. I hope you enjoy this stuff because you're a massage geek, and also I hope you take some time off from body and health related stuff because it can all be a bit much. And I didn't want to make this episode an hour long with all of my recreational non-health related stuff that I listen to, but enjoy stuff that's not work related too, please, for the love of Pete. Finally, I'm going to talk about one more resource who also happens to be a sponsor. ABMP. That's right, ABMP. You've heard me talk about all the different things. I'm just going to wrap it all up into one ad. Normally we pick one thing to focus on, but I'm going all in. You've heard me talk about ABMP's 5-minute muscle app and the Pocket Pathology apps, quick reference guides to help you figure stuff out in a hurry before a session starts or to study on your own. And palpation videos, technique videos for 83 of the most commonly addressed muscles. I lost my train of thought there. Pocket pathology, so that when a client walks in and says, I have XYZ, and you've never heard of it, you can look it up and see what you need to be thoughtful about in crafting a safe treatment. They have a magazine. I know this for sure because we write for it. We write the Blueprint for Success column in every issue, and everyone in the world can read that for free at massageandbodyworkdigital.com, which is frankly just a gift to the profession. We really appreciate that. And the ABMP Education Center, which Andrew mentioned earlier in his comments, abmp.com/learn, over 600 hours of CE courses they cover every topic you can remember. This is an accumulation of years worth of education. To be an educator for ABMP is really a beautiful thing. I really feel like everybody should be supporting this education portal, because on the educator side, I can tell you that they treat their educators well, they pay us well. The quality of the CE really reflects that. And I love that this organization is so respectful of its members, its massage therapists and body workers, and also the educators that it brings in to teach. So it is a great way to meet CE requirements, to try out new presenters, and to save your in-person CE budget for all the live stuff you want to do. You can learn about all of these things at abmp.com. And that is in this here's a bunch of resources episode, one of the biggest resources I can route you to. Finally, we're at the end. Quick tips, folks. My quick tip for you is to update your resume now. And it sounds like a silly thing to say because we mostly focus on self-employed independent massage therapists here at Massage Business Blueprint. But every so often, even we, self-employed people who've pretty much become unemployable and uncontrollable, even we are needing to have a resume for one thing or another at one time or another. And it's really hard if you haven't needed a resume in the last 15 years to have to all of a sudden need one and remember all of the stuff you've done in the last 10 to 15 years and get that into your resume in written form when you're already like, oh, now I got to write a cover letter too. And it's just a lot. So maybe put a note in your calendar annually to, at the very least, keep a list, keep a document that's just a bunch of bullet points of what you've done in the last 6 months or year. It's super easy to look up like a resume template online, and that will help you like decide what information you need to put down and how to phrase it. But if you led up a team of volunteer massage therapists at XYZ, that should go on your resume. If you taught a CE class, that's great. That should go on your resume. If you are a peer mentor in your area and you mentor on specific topics, put that on your resume. If you have taken a bunch of CE, bullet point this stuff so when you need to put it all together in a hurry, it's easy to do. And that is my final tip. And I am so grateful because Andrew popped in with a note about a great resource, Sacred Stream Radio Podcast, Amazing Interviews with Laura Chandler and her guest. That sounds kind of awesome. Sacred Stream Radio Podcast. I am going to Google that. I'll try to put the link in the podcast notes. Thanks for listening all the way through, Andrew. That's really thoughtful. And that's our episode, folks. I deeply miss Michael, but also glad I could give him the morning off. And we're going to come back next week with some, more of me telling you what to do in your massage business. If you have a topic you would like for us to cover, email podcast@massagebusinessblueprint.com. If you want to see all of our free resources and fun stuff that we provide for massage therapists, you can go to massagebusinessblueprint.com. If you're not on our email list, that is just wackadoodle. You should be. So sign up for our email list right there at the website, massagebusinessblueprint.com. And you'll get all we do, we send a Friday email that gives a link to the weekly podcast episode and anything else we've published that week. Every other Sunday, you get some deep thoughts from Michael or I. And then if we release a free resource, which we have a bunch of them, we will occasionally send an email about that, but rarely, more than 1.5 times a week. So there's that. I hope you have a really good day. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you and Michael next week and have a really good day. We're going to put the outro music right here. Do 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 do